Little Crumbs, and Other Stories. By Anonymous. Something sweet. Christ must day something. Sweet happen to be a by. Ralph, some sugar candy why. Ralph had never tasted candy why before, and you should have seen his big blue eyes. Some emo and some emo. And some emo, he said. Some more next Christ. Mas, said Mamma. And now why more ing Ralph asks, Quis mas this day? Oh, listen while the children sing. The first one's name is Mola Y. So loud their merry voices ring. Thesec and one is Dola Y. They sound like blackbirds in the spring. The third is Oyuaker Pola Y. A Christmas carol, Little Rosabel's adventure. Little Rosabel liked stories. The best of anything in the world, and she believed that all her little picture books were true, and oh, how she did wish she were a story book girl herself, and that such things would happen to her. Dear little Rosabel, she used to go out in the green lanes and grass-wide dells and hunt for fair is, and listen for talk ing birds and talk ing flowers. And one day little Rose Belle thought she would try one of the stories and see if it would come true with her. She chose the story of Little Red Ing Hood, because she had a red hood, and cause she knew a poor old woman who lived alone in an old house. So she put a pat of butter and a custard pie in a little basket tied on her red hood, and started away. But there were no woods to go through, and so no wolf came along. Rosabel called, Wolf! Wolf! Man why times, but no wolf came. When she came to the old house, she tried to reach the big knocker, but she couldn't, so she knocked with her little knuckles. Very thin, low voice said, Lift the latch and come right in. Rosabel did, and there was a poor old grandmother right in bed, just like the store. Why? Oh, have you anything to eat in that basket? Said the voice. I have sprained my ankle, and I can't walk, and there has no bodwy been here for 2 days, and I am almost starved, and I want some bodwy to go for a doctor. Can you go? Yes, Rosabel could. Away she ran to Mamma, and Ma and the doctor both came. So Rosabel was not on a Y in a real story herself, but she also did a great deal of good. Morning at our house, when the first grey light creeps in through the curtains, there is generally a sudden nestling to be heard in the crib that stands at one side of the bed. Soon our Thursday's crow why yellow head pops up out of the pillows. Are you waked up, Dola Y? By? Calls a merry voice. Kuaguku, and swears. Dola Y by. Mamma, I want to see her, says our Thursday, sitting up to look over. Then Mamma parts the lace curtains of Dola Y by's crib, and discloses the little sister, all sweet and rosy with sleep. Smilling on her pillow. Loves Dola Y by, says our Thursday, throwing a kiss. Dola Y makes fun New York eyes at her brother, and throws up her fat little hands. Ah, goo goo, she says. Let me have her, please. Mamma, says our Thursday. Then Dola Y by is lifted over into the big crib, and there is rock ing and sing ing, and smell ing and coo ing until nurse comes to carry both rogues away to be dressed. Moon folks, see how quiet it is at even ing in the house of the man in the moon moth. Sits down to knit baby stockings like the mammas here, and the moon father Wears a smock ing cap as author. Papa do, and Anna why just see. What the sweet little moon. By has got for a ham. Mock. By lo by. The moon by. Sings. How bright the earth shines tonight. I like to swing in the hammock by earth light. I wonder if and why bod why lives in the earth, says the moon mother. That is something I sup. Pose we never shall know, says the moon father. Little crumbs and little drops. Crumbs of crackers and drops of milk were the names of two little girls. Would you like to know how they got these fun New York names? It was this way: little crumbs was always nib. Blink crackers and little drops lived up on noth. Ing but milk. They met for the first time one day by the fence between their gardens. Lit. Tlee drops was sipping from her silver cup, and little crumbs was munch ing her cracker. The big sunflower thought there must be a dog and a kitty in the garden. I've seen you out here twice, said Crumbs bold why. And both times you was a drink ing milk. And I seen you 2 times. And both times you was a eat ing quackers, said Drops. Then the little girls looked at each other through the fence. Bold little Crumbs spoke first. I don't like milk. I does, said Drops. My mamma says I was brought up on one cow. Was you once a true ly? Little boss sy calf? Asked Crumbs. But Drops did not like that. K's tyin'. You isn't bre. Nice to me, she said. Then Crumbs was sorry. She held out her cracker. Here, she said. And, while Drops nibbled Crumbs, to show that she was true ly, sorry, took a sip from the cup. And this was true ly sorrow. Indeed, for Crumbs don't like milk to this day. In the dovecot, 2 kind little girls, with her way, little loud eyes so gay? Oh, over the hill, to Grand Mother Dill. And what have you there? In your bucket square? Oh, puddings and pies, a little surprise. Why such goodwill? To Grand Mother Dill? Oh, ever why one should on Christmas do good. Little maids, good day. Flowers strew your way. Coo, coo, said Perpielli. Neck it is. Break fast. Time. Why, yes, said Gray wing. I was think. Ing of the city doves. There was a snowstorm last night. Yes, said Perpielli neck. But they will not suit fair. I am told that many a fine gen Tlee man buys a loaf of bread to crumbly up for the city doves on a winter's day. Heaven bless em, said Graywing. Ida's doll. Once there was a little girl named Ida, who never had had a doll. She never had even seen one, but there was a picture in a little red storybook of a girl, hold inga doll, and Ida used to look at this picture every day, and wish she could have one. But her home was a long way from an store, and beside her father and Martha had no money to spend for playthings. Poor little Ida felt worse and worse about it, and one night she cried after she went to bed, and when her mother came and asked what was the matter, she said, I'm so miserably for a dola. Why, Mamma? Mamma sat up long after her little girl was asleep and thought about it, and the next morning when Ida woke, there sat a dola on the bu. Rose star ing at her, a queer thing, but Ida knew it was sure a doll. It was a great rag by, made of an old sheet, and dressed in one of Ida's pink calico aprons, and it had black thread hair and blue button eyes, a rag nose, and red ink lips, but oh, how delicious! It was to hold, and hug, and love. All the sweet names Ida could think of were given her: Pretty, and Dar, Link, and Fairway, and Sun, Shine, and little Ida was not mishably, and why more. The family rogue is caught at last. How Dan New York said he was sorry. Dan New York was a handsome little boy, but not always a good little boy. Sometimes he was so not why that you could see sparks of fire in his soft black eyes, and he would doubly his chub by little hands up into fists, and stamp his feet, and look actly as though he were ing to strike some bad why. One day when Mamma was sick with headache, he had one of these bad times with his temper. I don't wish to walk with Ellen, he cried. And I won't. I want to play walk with you. Mamma, Ellen don't talk with me, and she won't let me drive her at all. I want a play walk with my mamma. I say, do you hear, mamma? Mamma heard. She felt as though the not why little boots had come down with a stamp right on her head. She knew very well it was nicer for a little boy to walk with a mamma who would amuse him and take part in his little plays than with a nurse, but she could not go. And when Dan New York stamped and roared, he had to be sent out of the room quick ly, and without even a kiss. It was a much ashamed little boy that went stubbing along in the dust right in the middle of the road a half hour after. His little heart was struggling to find some way to say how sorry he was. There were no flow airs to pick for a nosegay, and it was too late for even a stray blackberry. But just before dinner, Mamma woke, and there was a great cloud of color red and gold right before her, and shining over it a pair of silken fringed black eyes, so soft and love-ing and sorry, that Mamma gathered her little boy and the great arm full of autumn leaves right into her arms, and in one little minuta all the tines was loved away. Miss Rosebud, bring the black horse, bring the red sleigh. Miss Rosebud herself goes rid-ing today. Once on a time, the story book time, when an mouse wore clothes and could talk, there were 3 model mice. Their names were Grey Cloak, Fine Ear, and Satin Slipper. Satin Slipper had a spoon of her own, Fine Ear had a knife, and Grey Cloak owned a fork. One day they thought they would club the knife and the fork and the spoon together, and keep house. As they were model mice, they esily agreed where to live. They chose Farmer Jones' cellar, because there were barrels of apples, buckets of eggs, and shelves loaded with good yes. And an egg, or an apple, or a stray cake would not be missed. I lived once, said Grey Cloak, in the cellar of a woman who bought by the dozen or the dime's worth, and she missed the least thing at once, so that I left in disgust. Such good times as those 3 mice had. The cellar had a smooth, water-limed floor, a beautiful place to play marbles, blind man's buff, and kitty sioana. They all ways ate from the same egg. And as Farmer Jones kept his cats at the barn, there was nothing to spoil their calm. For many years, what Papa and Mamma saw One time when Papa and Mamma were gone, and stayed out at the gate and talked with Arthur Cooks and left by Joe and Sue and Flake and Fleece all alone, and by Joe wanted to go bed, so like a little wom, and Sue took off her own little clothes and undressed by Brother, and then by Brother wouldn't have on his nightgown and cried and didn't come in to help, though Fleece and Flake barked to her loud, very loud. What did Papa and Mamma see when they came? 4 little white creatures nested in 2 big chairs, by Joe and Sue asleep in one, Flake and Fleece in another. A finger song. Little Kate. A finger song. To be said on by S. fingers. I shall have an apple. 2 shall have a pair. 3 shall have a little kid, of which he'll take good care. 4 shall have some candy. V shall have a ride. 6 shall have a little sword, all buckled on his side. 7 shall have a New York. 8 shall have a sled. 9 shall have a dream cap, and X shall go to bed. Kate feeds the fish, yes. The birds in the grove. No little farmhouse, Kate. The fish, yes, in the brook, no little farmhouse, Kate. She is the girl that walks about with her apron full of nice crumbs. The first morn this win, ter that the brook froze over, Kate went down to the bank and broke the ice with a stick, and fed the fish, yes, with bread crumbs. Mesuring Tom my goes every day to look at a board in the garden fence. There are 4 little hacks in that board, one above another, made with a knife. The first hack shows how tall Tom was when he was 1 year old, the sec on how tall when he was 2, the third how tall when he was 3. And yesterday Nella made a hack for the 4th birthday. A little master. Floss and Fluff were the happiest dogs in the world. Floss knew how to snap, and Fluff knew how to whine. And if they had been let to go hungry or cold, or had been scolded, they'd have been cross, not why dogs. But Floss and Fluff had. Good master, he was a little boy on a 6 years old, but he was a first-rate master, his papa said when he brought Floss and Fluff home. Now, Freddy, just as long as these little fellows are happy, just so long they are yours. Freddy knew what that meant. He fed his botiful pets at regular hours every day, and every day he combed and brushed them, and every day he took them out for a frolic, and they had their baths at the right time, and he never held up a bone and did not give it to them. Cause he was so prompt and true and kind. Freddy was happy, and so were Fluff and Floss. Madame Mobcap. Marie Bradley. This is little Rosa Bell. No, I beg her pardon. This is Madame Mobcap. Walk in her garden. What a fine cap it is! What a wide border! Spectacles and walk stick. And every thing in order. Hop, toads, clear the way. Bees, hush your humming. Lottie birds and butterflies. Grand folks are calm Never think she'll look at you. Sixolets and dices. You're quite too insignificant for such a lottie wise praise, yes. She must have a king cup and a prince's feather, with a crown imperial tied up together. That will suit your majesty. Madame Rosa Bella. And here's a golden sunflower to make you an umbrella. Pooh! Says little Rosa Belle. Pluck some carnatians. You may keep your sunflowers. and all their rich relations. Give me a bunch of sixolets, and one of those white rosies, and take your crown imperial, to folks that have no noses. Under the eaves, the Biebai in the house and the Biebai in the barn are great friends. The barn Biebai is not permitted to come into the house, but the house Biebai visits the barn every day. The house Biebai is a year old, and the barn Biebai is just a year old too, but the house Biebai cannot take little trembling steps hold ing fast by Martha's hand, while the barn Biebai, if he cannot get out of doors, throws up his heels and runs across the fields, and nobody can catch him. The house Biebai laughs to see him go, and dear Ly likes his red hair, and feel his two stout little horns, and I think the barn Biebai likes to feel the soft hand of his little friend from the house, for sometimes there is salt, and sometimes there is sugar on the little pink palm, and the barn Biebai licks it off with his rough tongue. Once the barn Biebai tried to say, "Thank you." He tried this way, he reached his head up and licked the house Biebai's rose-pink cheek. The house Biebai was scared, and so was the house Biebai's mother, and she ran into the house with him just as fast as she could, and then Papa laughed at them both, and the barn Biebai stood and looked over the fence for half an hour. Bo Peep stock ing. Bo Peep was Jack Horner's little sister. When he had his Christmas pie, she was a wee Biebai. But the next Christmas, Mamma hung up her own little red and white speckled stock ing for her Christmas morning. There was a great time. Bo Peep sat on the bed and shouted, "View! View!" and pulled the things out herself from the gay little stuffed stock ing. A little white rabbit peeped out at the top. His eyes were made of pink beads. He had a clova leaf in his mouth. Then came a china pussy, black and yellow and white. Then a brown mouse and a white one. The brown mouse was chocolate. The white one was sugar, and Bo Peep bit off the chocolate tail and a sugar ear at once. There was a knit dola in a bright blue dress and blue shoes, and away down in the toe of the stock ing there was a little china hen. She sat in her nest. The nest was china, too. Bo Peep took her off, and what do you think she had for eggs? Pink and white carré way seeds. When Bo Peep went to bed that night, the little red stock ing was left on the carpet. In the morn ing Mamma heard a rusty in the stock ing and shook it. Out ran a gray mouse, a real, live mouse. 2 or 3 of Bo Peep's little pink and white caraway eggs had stayed in the toe of the stockino dash. Mouse had smelt them in the night, and had crept in to get his share of Christmas. So Bo Peep thinks she had 2 Christmas mornings. Wasn't that fun, New York?